Hey everyone, if you're like me and still figuring out anatomy, especially muscles, it's easy to miss things. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't draw them. Clip Studio Paint has great tools to help with anatomy, and you can use them as references to practice and improve. So let's begin drawing muscles in Clip Studio Paint, even if you're still learning anatomy. One of my favorite features in CSP is the 3D models. You'll find them in the Materials panel, and they're lifesavers for anatomy. Body shapes, poses, lighting, shadows, everything. Set up a custom model to draw over or use as a reference. Let's dive in and make muscle drawing easier. Customizing the 3D model. Creating custom body types in Clip Studio Paint is easy. Open the Materials panel, window Material 3D, and drag a default male or female model onto your canvas. Note: optional asset for more muscle detail. If you want more detailed muscle structure, there's a great 3D asset with muscles already drawn on. I'll be using it to highlight smaller muscle groups, but don't worry. Whether you use it or stick with the basic model, the steps will stay the same. Follow along however you like. Switch to the Object tool to start tweaking your model. In the Tool Property panel, expand all settings to make adjustments easier. You'll see a visual breakdown of body parts, and on the right, you can customize general proportions like sex, height, head-to-body ratio. For muscle mass, use the global body slider to go from slim to bulky. Then, you can tweak each body part individually: arms, legs, chest, etc. Just click a part and drag towards the direction of the guide arrows to change the length and width. Sometimes the changes are subtle, so it helps to rotate the model to really see the difference. You can rotate by dragging around the canvas while using the Object tool. Posing your character. Alright, now that we've bulked up our model, it's time to pose them and bring them to life. Most of us don't stick with the basic standing pose. We want our characters to be expressive, dynamic, and cool. And poses are super important when it comes to showing off muscles. The right angle can make certain muscle groups pop way more. Here's how I do it. Find a reference image with a pose you like, something that fits the mood or story you're going for. Then, with your 3D model selected, go to the Subtool Detail panel. Pose section. It looks like a little person icon. You'll find a pose scanner. Feature here, it can take images and try to match the pose onto your 3D model, which is so handy. Just a heads up though, complex poses might need a little manual cleanup. To fine-tune the pose, click on the specific body part you want to adjust. You can click individual joints to rotate or bend them. Hold and drag to make quick, natural adjustments, like repositioning an actual human limb. Camera angles. When it comes to drawing muscular characters, posing and anatomy are only part of the equation. Camera angle plays a huge role in how powerful or dynamic your character looks. For this part, we'll focus on these 8 main icons. They let you rotate, move, and scale your 3D model. Using them, you can adjust the model's angle, position, and distance from the camera, which makes it way easier to set up the perfect shot before you start drawing. Take a little time to get comfortable with these. They'll become your best friends for dynamic poses and dramatic lighting. The right perspective can make muscles pop, emphasize strength, or even add emotional impact to a scene. Here are some of the best camera angles to boost those muscle visuals and bring your characters to life. 1. Low angle, or worm's eye view. Looking up from below makes characters look bigger and more powerful. It emphasizes the chest, arms, and shoulders, great for heroic or dramatic shots. 2. 3/4 view, or front or back. This angled view shows multiple muscle groups at once, like chest and arms or back and shoulders. It adds depth and works well for action or dynamic poses. 3. Top-down angle, bird's eye view. Looking from above makes the character seem smaller, which can show vulnerability or exhaustion. Great for lean, defined bodies where muscle cuts are visible. 4. Back view with over-the-shoulder turn. A rear view with a slight turn shows off the back muscles and creates a strong, confident pose. Ideal for brooding characters or quiet strength moments. Lighting. Lighting adds depth, drama, and definition to muscles. Here's how to level up your drawings. 1. Strong directional lighting. Use a single light source, above, side, or below, to create bold shadows and carve out muscle form. Top-down lighting is great for highlighting chest, shoulders, abs, and arms. 2. Rim lighting. Place a light behind the character for a glowing edge that sharpens the silhouette, perfect for dramatic, powerful looks. 3. Lighting from below. Upward lighting flips shadow placement for a more intense, villainous vibe, exaggerating muscle structure. 4. Bounce light. Add a softer secondary light to fill in shadows without flattening form, keeping contrast strong. How to add extra lighting flair? Open the Subtool Detail panel and go to the Object list. Find and unhide directional light too. Go to Light Source to adjust the location and brightness level of the light. Play with the settings to add more drama or subtle highlights to your scene. To return to adjusting the 3D model, go back to the Object list and click on the 3D figure again. Quick tip for cleaner 3D models. If you want a smoother look on your 3D model without all the sketchy lines, you can easily remove them. Just open the Subtool Detail panel, then Preferences, Go to Rendering Settings and turn off Textures. Setting up for rendering. Now that our model is ready, posed perfectly, and the lighting is on point, it's time to move into rendering. There are many ways to approach it, but to keep things quick and beginner-friendly, I usually start with a gradient map. This lets us lock in the lighting and color values first, without getting too bogged down in details. How to apply a gradient map. First, go to the Layer menu, choose New Correction Layer, and select Gradient Map. Inside the Gradient Map settings, the two main things you'll work with are the slider and the color palette. Remember, in the gradient, the right side is your lightest areas and the left side is your darkest. To add more color points, just hover over the slider until you see a plus sign, then click. You can move the arrows closer for sharp, sudden transitions, great for a stylized look, or farther apart for smoother blending. Quick tip for smoother looks. If you want your rendering to feel more realistic, keep your transitions soft and gradual. Sharp transitions, tight sliders, will make it look closer to cell shading, while spread out sliders with more blending will feel more natural and realistic. Choosing colors for the gradient map. When picking colors for your gradient, I break it into 4 parts. Light, the brightest highlight. Terminator line, where light turns into shadow. Shadow base, your main shadow color. Ambient influenced shadow, where the environment tints the shadow. Sometimes you might also add a hint of reflected light depending on the scene. I usually start by setting the lightest value first. Then, I tweak it slightly to match a natural skin tone, adjusting the hue if the light source has a color tint, like sunset orange or cool blue. For the shadow side, I follow the same idea, choosing a natural base color, then adding a Terminator line in between that's a bit more saturated. I adjust the slider positions until everything feels right. For ambient shadows, say if the background is a blue sky, I'll hint at that color in the shadows. Instead of jumping straight to a bright blue, I nudge the hue slightly toward blue and lower the saturation. This creates a subtle, natural effect that feels more realistic. Throughout this, I also make small tweaks to the mixing rate curve to control how soft or sharp my blending looks between each color zone. Final step, making it your own. Now that our colors are set, it's time to render. You might think we're done. Colors are in, right? Technically, yes. But now it's about adding your artistic style. Introducing binarization. I love a semi-realistic look with grouped shadows for a cinematic feel. Since the 3D model can look too realistic, I add a new correction layer, choose binarization, and adjust it to clearly separate light and shadow areas. Then, I change the layer's blending mode to overlay or multiply and lower the opacity to less than half. Painting over for finalization. Now, when I paint over it, I can create that cool illusion where less detail actually feels like more detail, giving the artwork a softer, more stylized finish. At this stage, it's all about making the piece yours. Use the lighting and form as a guide, but don't feel locked into it. Push shapes, exaggerate certain muscles, or simplify areas depending on the style you're going for. This is where your brushwork and color choices really bring the character to life. You can also start blending edges, adding subtle color shifts, or defining key details like veins, scars, or highlights. The goal isn't to copy the 3D base, it's to build on it and infuse your own flair. Think of this phase like sculpting. You're carving out what matters most, adding focus where you want the viewer's eye to go, and letting the rest fade back. Anatomy, especially muscles, can be tricky. But with tools like Clip Studio Paint's 3D models, posing, and lighting features, it gets a lot easier. Use them to study, practice, and build confidence over time. Don't stress about perfection. Every drawing is progress. Keep experimenting, stay consistent, and most importantly, have fun with it. You're improving with every piece. Keep going.